All right. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Tonight we're having a panel talking about competing for success. And the goal of tonight is learning how participating in competitions can help you succeed in your career and life. I'm Jim Sparks. I'm the program manager for the Center for Entrepreneurship. And tonight I'll be moderating this conversation with our guest, Joe Vincent on the end, Kelly Reeser in the middle, and filling in very nicely for Patrick Rooney, who couldn't make it, is Dr. Adrianelli, the director of the Center for Entrepreneurship. So you might have picked up on a theme here. Every week we're talking about how the Center for Entrepreneurship can help you be successful in your careers and lives. So we're providing the speaker series as a way for the entrepreneurs in the group and the innovative thinkers here, the students, can come into contact with business leaders, professionals, and entrepreneurs from the community. And so one of the best moments for me each week is after the conversation is over, when I see students gathering around the speaker, having that one-on-one interaction, asking the questions that they were a little bit shy about asking in front of everybody, and making that personal connection which lasts for sometimes lifetimes. We've heard multiple times this semester how something that a speaker has said has made an impact that's really changed their life, right? And we want to see that happen every week. And I think tonight is an opportunity for this to happen again. And we want this to be very interactive tonight. So we're going to have lots of opportunities for you to ask questions, but I will kick things off. But so this speaker series is one way that we present ways for you to interact with professionals and business leaders in the community. But another way that we're doing it is that we are offering students opportunities to get involved with events that are happening on campus and off campus that involve business leaders as well. So we've taken students to the Sustainable City Summit, we've taken them to Civicon, and we've actually hosted the Da Vinci Fest, the Da Vinci Innovation Celebration earlier this year. And tonight, one of the things we're going to be talking about is Startup Weekend, which is coming up in a couple of weeks, which is the reason for our topic, competing for success. And so I think most of our panelists, I think all of our panelists would agree that competitions are really a way for you to kind of spread your wings, test out your own skills and abilities, and to get feedback really quickly from the judges and panelists. And so that's one of the reasons that we're doing this tonight as well. So with no further ado, I'd like to invite each of the panelists to introduce themselves and share a little about their journey from being students, just like we are here today, into being entrepreneurs and into the positions that they have today. And while we're at it, we're going to talk about some of the competitions that they've participated in or been a part of or seen. And of course, finally, we'll talk about Startup Weekend and how y'all can get involved with that. So with that, let's start with Dr. Anelli. Why don't you lead us off?
Well, hello, I'm Ed Ranelli. I'm former Dean of the College of Business and now Director of the Center for Entrepreneurship. And we're here today to talk about competition and competing in your particular arena. And as you probably know, and probably will see more of here at the university, you'll see more opportunities for you to compete with other students for various prizes, awards, and so forth. And my background is in business and economics, and one of the axioms of economics is that competition is good. Competition brings out the best characteristics in an individual, not cutthroat competition, of course, but competition sharpens your edges. It gives you an opportunity to vet your ideas, to receive constructive criticism, and to improve your product or services. And a big proponent of competition. We have had competitive situations here in the Center for Entrepreneurship. Just recently, we had the Da Vinci Innovation Celebration, which was a competition among students that had innovative ideas. And in that competition, we had, I think, something like about 80 students participating in about 50 teams from 27 different disciplines for prizes consisting of $5,000. And one of the feedbacks that we got from the students that participated in that competition was very positive, that they indicated and confirmed, indeed, what we already know is that competition does sharpen your ideas, sharpen your edge, provides opportunity for you to work together in teams and to receive critical comment and to vet and to fine-tune your particular ideas. So as we develop more opportunities for that competition, I would encourage each of you to get involved in that for those particular purposes.
Thank you. And Joe, why don't you tell us about your path from student to today?
All right. My name is Joe Vinson. I am Assistant Director of Communications for the Division of Research and Strategic Innovation here at UWF. Prior to coming to UWF, I was Digital Director for the Studer Community Institute, and before that I spent about 11 years with the Appleyard Agency in marketing, and have served as president of the local AdFed chapter and various other roles. I am here kind of representing Startup Weekend with Kelly, a forthcoming fifth event will be next weekend. I got involved with Startup Weekend as a competitor 3.5 years ago, and joined the organizing committee for a subsequent event, and just really feel strongly that these types of competitions are a great way for people who have an entrepreneurial spirit to hone that, for people who have an idea to find that entrepreneurial spirit, and just no matter what your discipline is, a way to better yourself and make connections and just improve your craft.
All right. My name is Kelly Reeser. My job title is Director of Entrepreneurial Development for Florida West Economic Development Alliance. If I were to change that title and give myself an actual what do I do on a daily basis, it would be that I'm a champion of entrepreneurs, that I work with entrepreneurs day in and day out. I have an incubation program called CoLab Pensacola. Does anybody know what an incubator is? Yeah? What is an incubator? It heats eggs for chickens and helps them grow. Absolutely. But we do the same thing for businesses. In our business incubation program, we basically take, you could say small fledgling, going with the chicken example, fledgling businesses, and we give them concentrated resources and we help them grow. When we talked about competition, I said, well, do we want to go back to my competitive softball days in high school, or what do we really want to talk about? And we talked a little bit about how participating in competition hones your craft, sharpens your skills, does all those things. And I would have to say that I would consider myself in this arena a cheerleader. I was a cheerleader in high school, I guess, way back in the day. But that really has become my role professionally, is championing or cheering on those who have great ideas, helping connect them with the resources, help connecting them with the individuals that can help take that idea and advance it on to the marketplace and help them grow that business. So I'll definitely look forward to talking a little bit more about that in context of Startup Weekend and in other context of other competitions that we've hosted locally to get those ideas out there.
Wonderful. So you feel you're qualified for this conversation tonight?
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt. So, okay, so with that, let's get into questions. And as we're doing this, I'm going to be asking you many of the same questions that I'm asking them. I don't know if we have one more microphone, Eric, but yes, we do, for the audience, so we might engage you in that process. So the first question that I want to ask the panelists, and I'm going to ask you, is what are some of the competitions that you've been exposed to, been a part of, or have helped lead? And for this, why don't we start with Kelly?
Absolutely. So we have, I ran a program for 3 years called the Young Entrepreneurs Academy. And so if we talk about people who are of adult age having fledgling businesses, imagine a 6th grader. So this program was for students from the 6th all the way through the 12th grade in Escambia and Santa Rosa counties. It was after school, basically on the premise of band students have a band hall they can go to and instruments they can play to practice their craft. athletes have a field that they can go to, and they can practice, and they can hone their craft, and then they can compete on, even a statewide or nationwide level. But young business owners and people, young innovators, people with young people with ideas, don't really have that stage here locally. So we started this program called the Young Entrepreneurs Academy, and it took the students all the way from develop an idea, create a business plan, develop a pitch deck, and then pitch to a panel of investors or judges, and they actually came to the table with real dollars. So imagine you're in 6th grade and you got $2,500 to start your business. It was fantastic. The story, probably my favorite story, was a 6th and 7th grade brother and sister combo. They formed a business called the Spice Kids, and they told this great story about how when they lived in Ireland, they got little Irish accents, and they were about 4'11", but they told this story of how when they lived in Ireland, people ate curry all the time. They were surprised when they came to the U.S. that nobody eats curry, and so they decided to pre-package curry and sell it, and it was brilliant. They did a great job. They actually advanced on to a national competition, and these kids, I think they're now in 10th and 11th grade, but when they graduate high school, they will have a full ride to, there's probably 20 universities that participate in this, but they will have a full ride to college from something that they did in the 6th or 7th grade. So my key takeaway from that experience was capture a passion that you have and tell that story extremely well. I mean, they put together the numbers, and it was 3 cents for the plastic wrap that went on their package. I mean, they had the numbers and they had the business sense, but they also had a compelling story, and they told that extremely well. Another one that we host locally is called the Innovation Awards. There's an organization called Innovation Coast, this is, for more advanced businesses, and this is with higher dollars at stake. I think the first place prize was $100,000 the first year, $50,000 for second place, and then third place was an assortment of services and prize packages. But the company that was the first place winner is one of the tenants in my incubator. So I was extremely proud, like a little proud mama hen.
Got his MBA at the University of West Florida as well.
Gentleman got his MBA at the University of West Florida, and good plug. There you go. And he has gone on from that initial grant dollars. I think it was 2015 was that event, or maybe the latter half of 2014. But he took that $100,000 investment, and he has grown his business to where they are doing well over $2.5 million in revenue every year. They won a Microsoft Innovation Award earlier this year. They've gotten a second round of funding into their business. So they've really taken off. And I would say that two things that competition provided for them. Sure, $100,000 is fantastic, but it also gave them third-party recognition. So it was somebody from the outside, not just their own company, saying, hey, we're doing really great. It was a third-party endorsement, somebody saying, this company's doing great things and we think they're going places, enough to put real dollars into their business. So there's just a couple of examples that I've been a part of locally.
Joe, why don't you tell them a little bit about Startup Weekend?
Okay. So Startup Weekend is an international group of business competitions / hackathons where essentially it's a weekend, a 3-day event where on Friday you get together and you give a 60-second pitch. And anyone can make a pitch. You don't have to make a pitch, but and then everyone is given a chance to kind of vote on the pitches they like the best, and the pitches that get the most votes, those kind of form the teams, and then the teams get the rest of the weekend to develop that idea. They will come up with their minimum viable product. They will start working on a prototype, work on their business model, and then by Sunday they'll have a presentation that they'll give to a panel of judges, and those judges will award the top idea. And a lot of those go on to, some people, for some people it's a weekend. It's a fun thing to do, to work on their skills, meet new people. For some people, it's like a springboard into what they want their career to be. And so it can be any level of seriousness that you want to attach to it, but it's a great experience. And like I say, we're having one next weekend if you're interested.
Yeah, it's next weekend. It's at the Co-work Annex downtown on Garden Street. It is a 54-hour event. There is free food at the event, so you will be well fed during the session. And it's pretty much a full weekend event that students and teams work all weekend and homing their ideas. and it's a real fun activity. There are judges and there are coaches that will help you develop your idea, help you with the presentation. And we had it out here a couple years ago at the University of West Florida, and it was a real stimulating activity. So I would encourage you to check it out. If you've got an idea, or if you would like to participate in developing an idea, it is a great opportunity to meet other individuals that are enthusiastic about entrepreneurship, working in teams and we've had some ideas really go to market. I think you might be able to give more detail on that, Kelly. We had what was the one about the
Lifeboat
service? Yeah.
So a few events back, we had a competitor named Fat Lee, and his idea was a car service like Uber, but for taking care of your car, and it was called Lifeboat. Right, and so it was a combination. I think when it started, it was if you needed roadside assistance, it would be the service you called. And then after he left Startup Weekend and started, getting investor funding for it, they pivoted to make it more of a car service where someone would come to your car and make sure that everything was running correctly, and that way you kind of streamline this thing that no one really likes to deal with. And
concierge mechanic service is, I believe, how it's couched.
And so another phrase that we use for Startup Weekend is co-founder dating, because the idea is that with a lot of startups, you're going to be working with people, and so this is a way for you to meet people that might have the potential to be a great co-founder with you. And when you spend an intensive 50-some hours with somebody, you get to know them and you have a pretty good idea of whether or not you'd like to continue working with them. And so it's a great way of again, meeting new people who have skills that complement your own skills, and taking an idea, whether it's your own or something that you develop during Startup Weekend, and really running with it.
Yeah, and so this doesn't sound like a commercial for Startup Weekend, which it partially is. It is $10 for students, and I think if you're part of this thing tonight, we'll probably even make it cheaper than $10 for you if you talk to one of these people. So
Absolutely.
we'd love to
and
have
I
you
will say
participate.
that is through the generous sponsorship of the university. They have basically bought down that ticket price for you guys. So we definitely want you guys to take advantage of it.
So, but again, tonight we're talking about not just Startup Weekend, we're talking about all competition and how it helps you be successful, right? So Dr. Nelly, outside of the world of business competitions, what about like case competitions where you're really just researching and doing knowledge as an academic?
Yeah. Well, how many of you have participated in some form of competition while you're here at the university? Well, let me ask you, what are some of the takeaways that you got from participating in that competition? I'll describe a couple of them. You work in teams. Anybody want to comment on their takeaways? We got a lot of positive feedback from our evaluations of the Da Vinci innovation. A lot of the comments were positive feedback related to working with teams, getting professionals in the field to critique their idea, to make useful suggestions, to refine the idea, or to pivot to a new version of that particular idea. So the real takeaways is competition really provides you with an opportunity to receive critical comment, not critical in the sense, but more constructive comment about your ideas.
It can be critical. Sometimes you need to be told your baby's ugly.
Right. I think we've had a couple of those.
Yep.
Kelly had a idea, speaking of babies. Whatever happened to that, Kelly?
Put me on the spot. Okay, so I mentioned just a few minutes ago that I am a cheerleader. About 3 years ago, I had the nerve to get off the sidelines and jump in there and participate in I believe it was our second Startup Weekend event. I had just had my first baby, and she was precious, but I was a working mom, and I was stressed to the max that I was missing all of her firsts, all of those first giggles and all those things, and I wanted a way that didn't take much time for me to kind of chronicle and remember those things. So anyway, I pitched on at Startup Weekend. I pitched had that 60-second Friday night pitch, an idea called Monologue, and it was basically how can working moms, busy moms, take the idea of like Twitter, where you actually condense it to only like a select number of characters, so I wouldn't feel the pressure to write like an entire journal entry every day, but I could just write a really small amount, attach a picture to it, and it saves it. And anyway, so that was my idea. We, from the co-founder speed dating thing, I've got ideas, but I don't have any skills per se. So definitely can't code, definitely don't have any design skills. So I was able to assemble a team that brought together all of those disciplines, and we developed a working prototype of this application. I think we worked on it for probably another 3 or 4 months, and ultimately, as my, I'll say chief critic pointed out, that we actually didn't ever take it to market. We never actually did anything with it, and I would say that was my fault, and partly the complications of life and additional babies and that sort of thing. But maybe one day. Maybe,
but it was a great idea.
It was a great idea.
It's still a great idea. You just need to work it.
Absolutely, and I think that's part of the beauty of the weekend is it had been in the back of my mind for 6 months ever since my child was born, and I was like, man, wouldn't it be great if somebody would do this? Wouldn't it be great if somebody would do this? And so I took that time. My husband was a champ, kept the baby for the weekend, and I was able to really focus on, is there something here? Can we do something? And what I did find from it as well was that there were competitors in the marketplace, and some of those were viable competitors. And I was like, well, why don't I just sign up for theirs as opposed to, quitting my day job and taking that risk. But anyway, part of that is those are all the emotions and all the things that you go through when you take the time and really devote to an event like Startup Weekend.
Well, one of the things that Kelly mentioned is that she has a definite skill set in a particular area, but the competition also provided an opportunity to get with other people that have that coding experience that you didn't have, or the marketing experience, or the process experience, or the design experience. So it is an opportunity to flush out some of the skill sets that you need to be successful with your idea, and to develop a team, and to utilize that team to develop a product. And it's a fun experience, as you can tell, right?
So I guess a natural question that comes out of that is, if you're building these teams, how does this apply to the quote-unquote real world? Like, once you enter the workforce, how do these skills translate into a real job? Joe?
Well, in Startup Weekend specifically, or kind of in general, these competitions? In general, these competitions are a great way of... So going back to the Innovation Awards, in 2017 there was another Innovation Awards, and the prizes for that one were even larger. I want to say it was a total of $250,000 in prize money that was awarded, and the teams that won, the companies that won, they had really solid business plans. And just like if you've watched Shark Tank or something, you have to be able to answer these questions, and you have to have your paperwork in order. And so even if you don't have the capital to start an idea, if you have a solid idea and you can show on paper how something is going to work, and you can convince people to invest in you, that's how you're going to turn it into reality. And so competitions like Startup Weekend, even if there's not a big cash prize in it, you're getting those skills to be able to learn how to write those questions. Basically like test prep, just like you study for the SAT or something. This is studying for being in front of a real angel investor and convincing them that, yeah, you need to invest in this because it's going to be successful.
Can I ask, are there any technical folks in the audience? Or anybody that's programmers? What do you? Cybersecurity. Okay, cyber.
I'm electrical engineering, but I also do a little bit of coding.
Fantastic, electrical engineering and coding. Yes, sir.
Python programmer and Python framework.
Fantastic. Python programmer. I wish I knew what all those things were, but definitely from the technical perspective, maybe in cybersecurity you're working for, we've had folks that work at Department of Homeland Security, and they are doing a very narrow window of things day in, day out, because that's what the government needs them to do to protect our national interest, right? And so the skill that a programmer, someone with a technical skill, can gain is it allows for that creative thinking that you may not have the ability to do day in, day out, because your job has a specific task or a specific function. So there's a level of creativity that you're able to exhibit from a coding perspective. If you're a designer, you're not just looking at how do I make this font align perfectly with this color or whatever, but you're looking at, did I?
No, it's great.
He's a design guy. But you're also, if you're building something from scratch, you're also looking at how is my user going to interface with this application? So what is going to be the user experience? What is going to be, how can I inform the coding or the development process from a user's perspective in building in that design that makes a fully functional application or website or whatever it is that you're building? So I think that all of those things and I think we kind of keep going back to those three sections that Startup Weekend says that it pulls together developers, designers, and startup enthusiasts, which is that other category of people like myself who have a wide range of skills, which would be ideas or business, some sort of business savvy that you would bring to the table to team with those other skills.
And what about the idea of just differentiation on your resume when you go out to apply for a job, even if you don't decide to start your business because you participated in Innovation Awards or Startup Weekend, Dr. Nelly?
Well, one of the major advantages of participating in some of this competition, in addition to the opportunity to grow and develop teams and so forth, is that you do get a good resume entry. One of the factors, the job market is so competitive now, and so much of it is done online that it's really hard to break through. It's really hard to differentiate yourself. So you really need something on that resume that distinguishes you, differentiates you from the crowd. And participating in a project, to be able to say that, I worked on a particular project, a team project, or indeed I won an award in a competitive environment, is a differentiating factor that can be of some value to you in securing your job. Another important factor is the opportunity to network with fellow students and other colleagues, but also with the judges, the coaches, and others that will be participating in the competition that may say, hey, this guy's a pretty bright guy. His idea is so-so, but he really demonstrated a lot of the attributes that are critical to success in any endeavor, whether you're talking about your academic success, whether you're talking about your career success or business success. The skill set is pretty much the same in all those endeavors, and having an opportunity to demonstrate what you've got and what you can do is a real valuable experience. And the networking opportunities are free. And even if you don't win, one of the mantras in Silicon Valley is failure. Failure is a badge of honor in Silicon Valley, and as long as you fail forward, that you learn from your experience. And one of the key attributes of a entrepreneur is that I failed and I survived, and I've gone on to the next opportunity. So being in a competitive environment where you can succeed or fail has a lot of positive impact on who you are, what you can do, and demonstrating those attributes to others.
Kelly, do you want to add anything to that?
Yes.
Of course.
So also, just the simplicity of being a part of something that, as Joe said, is a global brand. Has anybody prior to this function right here heard of Startup Weekend or Techstars? Had you not? Okay, so Techstars is the premier acceleration program for early stage companies, and I believe out of Techstars came brands such as Dropbox. Sure. You're not sure that I'm going above my pay grade here, but I believe companies like that came out of this acceleration program. Techstars just bought in the last year the brand Startup Weekend. So it's basically building this pipeline of the next big thing in technology is, hey, we got our start at Startup Weekend, and then we teamed together and we pivoted maybe on that idea. We got into this acceleration program or that, and then we launched and we became the next unicorn, which is $1 billion valuation company. So what we would love to see is out of this room right here, the next unicorn or $1 billion idea that comes through our Startup Weekend, and then we're able to feed that idea locally and help you grow into a fully formed business.
Yeah. And Startup Weekend is not just a Pensacola event. It is a national and international event. Startup Weekends are held all over the country, internationally as well, and it's a real network opportunity. They've got a website, a newsletter, and it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
Actually, this year's event is the first time that the Pensacola Startup Weekend will be participating in Global Startup Weekend, which is a week-long period of time when about in 50 countries, more than 15,000 people will be doing startup weekends at the same time. And so it's pretty exciting because at our event, the top team will go on to compete in the regional contest, and then the top team of that one will go on to compete in the global contest. And at the regional and global levels, there are some very significant prizes from Amazon and Google and some of the other big companies. So it's kind of cool. It's the first time we've done it, and so we're pretty excited about that difference this year.
Yeah. And this whole emphasis on entrepreneurship and innovation and creative thinking is a mega trend that's going on now, as you probably are aware of, with globalization, technology, automation, and regulation. Many of the job opportunities now and in the immediate and long-term future are going to be in small businesses. The large corporations are shedding jobs. The career path has changed fairly dramatically over the last several years, where it's not when I was coming out of college, you went to work, you interviewed with IBM, AT&T, and you took a job offer and you worked for that company for the balance of your career in most cases. That's not the case today. The case today is you are in charge of your own career. You are in charge of your future. You are the advocate for your own professional development and career and development. And a lot of those attributes that we're trying to encourage in entrepreneurship, like relentlessness, persistence, flexibility, adaptive learning, integrity, and all of those attributes that are very important to take an idea and to run with it are attributes that are key to success in any endeavor. You are in charge of your career, and you need to take every opportunity to develop your skill set. You're going to be, as they call it, in the gig economy going forward. So you're going to be working on projects, whether you're working in a startup business or whether you're working in a major business and are an entrepreneur in a company. You're going to be evaluated on the basis of your entrepreneurial type of skills, your innovation skills, and how to take an idea and run with it, how to work in a team, and to develop the next generation of products for the company, whatever it may be.
Yep, and I think you're talking about the gig economy, you're talking about side hustles, right? So one of the ideas that I'd like for y'all to explore is that this tension between sharing your idea in public on this stage versus, it's my idea, right? And so, Joe, I guess, why don't we start with you? We don't have to get into the legal aspects of non-disclosure agreements and all that, unless you want to.
Sure, yeah. So one of the things at Startup Weekend is there are no NDAs, there are no non-disclosure agreements. And so there's some people have a little bit of a hesitation if they've had this idea in the back of their mind for a year or more, and they really want to develop it, but they get nervous because they don't want to announce it, and then it's like out there and someone could, conceivably steal it. But in reality, that doesn't really happen. And the thing about ideas is that I like the analogy that ideas An idea is a multiplier of an execution and vice versa. And so you could have a fantastic idea, $1 million idea, but if you execute it poorly or if it doesn't get executed at all, it's worth nothing. And if you could have even a mediocre idea, but if you just execute it fantastically, then you've amplified the value of that idea just through execution. And so things like Startup Weekend and other competitions is a great way to make that happen. You bring the ideas to the people who can execute it. And so that's one thing about, an idea that you keep secret and locked away and you don't find the people who can help you make it happen, it's not going to be as valuable as if you put it out there and make it real.
Just to reiterate that point, I forget who said it, but an idea or innovation without execution is hallucination. This is an opportunity to find out what are those critical factors for taking that idea to fruition and refining it and making it a executionable type of idea.
Yeah, and the way that really practically plays out is if your idea is selected organically by the group to be an idea that's worked on throughout the weekend, and then 3 or 4 people join your team, then yes, you are potentially giving up some of the 100% ownership of that idea or of that business, as Joe had said and as Dr. Nelly said, that when you're teaming and you have those people, you bring those people to the table, they're bringing enough value to share in the ownership of that idea. It may be that, from a legal perspective, and that's why one of the prizes is typically legal consultation from a local attorney on how do you, if you continue beyond the weekend, what does a teaming agreement look like? Is it 51% ownership for that idea person and then the rest is shared amongst the other members of the team? Or you have the latitude to have that conversation, but it has, as Joe has said, this is our 5th event, and globally they've done thousands of events, and from the corporate office, they have said it has never been a problem. They've not ever had an idea. They've not ever had an instance of idea poaching, of somebody just coming in, just purely taking an idea and running with it. So I would hope that would not be a reason to not participate or get your idea out there. And Jim, I saw a question in the back.
Yes. We'll get you a microphone. And it is time for questions, so think about your questions.
Sure. Thank you. Good evening, and Dr. Nelly, thank you, and Kelly, thank you, and Joe, and Jim. One of the things that, you were talking about people who win the competition. Everyone who competes is going to be a winner, and the reason why is that they're learning how to package themselves. Mm-hmm. All right, and you also mentioned too, I think, Dr. Nelly, when all of you go out looking for, if you're going to go out and look for a job, either be an entrepreneur, whatever it's going to be, you're going to have to be able to differentiate yourself amongst all the other people who are sending all the information in. What I'm wondering is for the panelists here, do the students get some kind of a certificate, or is there something that the cohort, in other words, do you have a list of each of the cohorts that will compete, so a possible employer can say, oh, let me look, and my name's Larry. Oh, Larry, actually you did. And you competed in this. I don't know if you do that or don't do that, but to me, it's just another way. It's like, I've got alphabet soup after my name, and someone can go online and see it. So is this something that you can provide to your participants? I think this would be value added, just a thought.
It's a good idea. We haven't really done that with Startup Weekend. When Startup Weekend closes, it's kind of like we're letting it loose into the world, and what the teams do from there is kind of on them. You do get a T-shirt, but no, we haven't really done certificates or any other kind of thing that would I don't know what's
chronicle that.
Right.
I mean, again, sure. I was just going to say there's the social media footprint that that does show each of the participants, but I mean that's not a bad. That is an excellent idea to consider. Taking at least the winning teams and the participants from those winning teams and just kind of recycling those, regurgitating those every event, and just say, hey, these are this is our this is the list of the legacy of Startup Weekend Pensacola.
Yeah, the Friends of Startup Weekend. Just
and
a nice
for
list
sure, I would, Larry. The only point of disagreement I would have is when I didn't win with Mama Log, I did not feel like a winner, and but. it was only in that moment, because then I woke up on Monday morning and I was like, wow, I just did that. I have been, because I am kind of good at having an idea, but then just putting it off, getting busy doing other things. But I would actually, I would agree with you that come that Monday morning, it was like, wow, I just did that. I was just a part of teaming with others to make that idea a reality. And so I'd say that what we gained was the first place would have been nice. That what we gained was definitely valuable.
Well, again, this weekend, coming from New York, is the New York City Marathon. And just to finish the marathon, never mind how you come in, but just to go through, I mean, I wasn't blessed to be in the service, but to me, this is like going through boot camp. You're going through an entrepreneurial boot camp, you're going through all the stages, and you get up and you literally exhibit your wares.
Yeah.
You show what you know.
Yeah.
And that band of brothers feeling is absolutely,
There you go.
I mean,
You know,
That's true.
that's another point. We had, through the graces of Quentin Studer, who is a very successful entrepreneur, he brought down 3 venture capitalists to participate in a class that Dr. Perkins and Quentin Studer team taught. And the question was asked, what are the attributes that you look for in an entrepreneur? What are the key characteristics that are important and probably the major determinants of success? And their response was very interesting. They said the major attribute that they look for in a entrepreneur is self-awareness. Self-awareness, to know who you are, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what you can do, what you cannot do, and how you can go about filling in those particular gaps that you have. And competition, participating in that competition is an excellent way to identify what your particular strengths are and what your weaknesses are, and how you can supplement those strengths with individuals that complement your strengths and weaknesses.
Wonderful. Yeah, please.
When you're in a competitive environment and you're dealing with like peers and stuff, at what point do you distinguish whether you have just a natural shortcoming or something that you just need to work on? Like as opposed to like you trying to work on a skill as opposed to finding someone else who is, clearly better at that skill than you would. How would you distinguish when?
Well, that's a good question. I don't think there's a bright, fine line there. I think the real answer has to do with coming to the realization of what your self-awareness is. What are my particular strengths? Pardon?
Could I rephrase the question?
Sure.
At what point are you like trying to better a skill? Is there a point where you have to, self-admit, oh, I might need someone else to? Like, is there something like putting yourself in that environment? Because, like you said, failure is a badge of honor, but eventually,
Well, we can't all do everything. I mean, there are limitations to all of our skill sets. So when, my suggestion would be when there is a particular need for a particular skill, and you come to the realization that that's not particularly your strength, or you find someone that is a participant, a willing participant that can do it better than you, then I think that is the line where you cross over, is that if I've got someone that specialization is the key to success. I mean, you can't do everything. If you're an entrepreneur, you're probably not an accountant. If you're an accountant, you're probably not an entrepreneur, or vice versa. But you need to flush out, you need to have a wide range of skills that are required for success, and there's usually someone that can always do it better than you. And when you come to that realization, that's when you begin that search that maybe I need to find somebody that can meet the requirements of that particular job. I don't know.
I would say, I mean, if you have a passion for something, there's very few things that a passion and time won't improve. I mean, if you have, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I guess, like, in some sense, like, enough time. But I guess to the point where you would weigh the time spent you know,
Of course, yeah.
I didn't know if you guys, because I assume that's a problem that, you know, any entrepreneur would encounter. I didn't know if you had like a rule of thumb or a guideline or warnings, red flags, something to like say like at one point where you'd be like, you know what, this happened, which means I'm probably not going to get too much better at it. Like more or less gauging yourself.
Yeah. Well, it's generally hard. There are a lot of great stories and case studies about entrepreneurs that developed a particular service or product, took it to fruition, and at some point it became apparent to them and to others that maybe I wasn't the best person to run this business. It's my baby. I started it. But and it's very much, it's hard to let go once you develop that idea and take it to fruition. But at some point, you need to let go and let the experts take it to the next level. I was reading an interesting article just today by Steve Blank, who was a serial entrepreneur, about the events going on at GE. And Emmett stepping down, and some of the initiatives that he rolled out were just not the appropriate initiatives for the phase that GE is in, and they're going through some dramatic restructuring as a result. So it's no bright line. It's just a matter of what are the requirements of the job, and do I have it?
Yeah, and there's not an exact line, and it totally depends on kind of your your makeup and composition, and from a business perspective, what are you wanting to accomplish? Again, if it's gaining a technical skill or a certain skill from that perspective, I think that's where Joe was coming from with, if you're passionate about it, you can figure out how to do that technical thing. But I've multiple times said that my senior year of high school, I was voted best all around, and it has been the curse of my life because it really says that you're
generalist. But what I've come to realize about myself and what I can bring to a group venture would be enthusiasm, promotion. And that kind of stuff are things that come very naturally to me. But a guy or girl who would be naturally more driven to an analytic, personality type or skill set, don't put them in front of people. They don't want to talk. That doesn't come naturally or fun or easy. And it's that kind of thing where can I bring the most value, and where is the most natural fit. But if it's a skills gap, you can there's lots of ways through education and just and learning that you can bridge that. But then it does come down to just natural fit and what you could see yourself doing long term.
Yeah, and there's a variety on the internet. There's a million different little quizzes you can take that tell you what you care about, what you don't care about. I love the idea of passion being a part of that. But my personal litmus test is that if I'm bound and determined to do something, by about the second week that I haven't done it, it's time to outsource it, because I'm probably not going to do it, right? So, and it depends on the deadline too, right? If it's got to be done tomorrow and it's still not done, it's probably time to outsource it. So, who else has a question? Yes. Try the microphone thing.
Because no one's going to hear me, I guess. So, say in the competition specifically, if there's a sought-after skill that is lacking in others, and say you have a great idea, at what point do you pursue that idea to get that prototype or get that product actually created? Or would you do that, or would you try to use your skills in maybe another group or have another idea? So if you understood that, if that made any sense.
So that's part of the tension on that Friday night when everyone does the pitches, is that if you come to the competition and you've had this idea and it's stewing in the back of your mind for however many years, and you pitch it and you just don't get a lot of the little sticky dots saying that people voted for you, it hurts. I mean, and that happens. I mean, if you have 100 people and you've got 15 teams, you do the math. It's a lot of people whose ideas just weren't deemed popular enough. And so We say that, man, if you really want to, if you only get like one or two other people who are interested in joining your team and you really want to do it, you can, but you're going to have the better results if you join another team. And a lot of times the ideas that get pitched are not what the final thing is on Sunday. In talking about the idea with your team, in doing some research on what kind of competition's out there, sometimes those ideas change. And so it's not necessarily that what gets pitched on Friday night is what gets judged on Sunday evening. And so what I would say is that if you pitched an idea and you just didn't get people who saw it the way you see it, my recommendation would be to join a team where you liked the idea and you felt like your skill set would contribute. And then just with the people that you meet there, after startup weekend, keep that relationship going, and maybe they can help you build it later.
Very good. Any more questions? Excellent. So I wanted to kind of follow up on this thing is that, we assume everyone has ideas. I always have ideas. But if they don't have ideas, is that disqualifying you from ever participating in a competition, not just Startup Weekend? Kelly?
No, Jim.
So what do you suggest?
Startup Weekend specifically, and then we'll go beyond that. But it's the teaming. If the numbers, Startup Weekend by the numbers, there might be 100 participants, and then 35 people pitch an idea on Friday night, and then there's a gallery walk process where you get sticky notes and you vote for your top 3 ideas, and then from those 35 ideas, typically you see the top 15. And then there's another culling process where people join those 15 teams, and then usually 1 or 2 kind of are weeded out, and then typically there's 13 to 15 teams that actually form that first night. And then, yes. So then there's a lot of people, over half of the people that attended, that did not have ideas, that just wanted to come to participate and be a part of a team. But as Joe said, if you have an idea and you have even an inkling of a desire to get that out there, go for it, because you realize that over half the people in the room with you don't even have that desire to get an idea out there. They just want to be a part of a team. So yes, and then any competition beyond that, yes, it's a matter of who you can surround yourself with and what you can be a part of and what you can bring to the table to really advance maybe somebody else's idea.
Yep. I want to put Giovanna on the spot. What is the Entrepreneur Club to get everyone ready to pitch their ideas?
For the Startup Weekend?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean?
So every time I've gone to your meetings, y'all been talking about your ideas and.
We had the Da Vinci Innovation Celebration where students had the chance to pitch their ideas. So now each student is developing their own ideas and sharing with the organization, so that we all collaborate in the same idea. Some of them were hesitating to share their idea. They were like, I don't know if I want to share my idea, get you guys to help me, but we're always going to be open for outside feedback. Mm-hmm. And I really found extremely beneficial to hear outside feedback for my idea. So now I had the chance to participate in a civic tech competition that I had to work with a programmer and a graphic designer, and I literally had to learn, I already had to learn English, and then I had to learn 2 different languages on top of that, because 3 different worlds, the business world, programmers and graphic designer, and it was also a 24 hours hackathon, and I was like, okay, we're gonna pitch this idea 10 a.m. and I'm not gonna sleep? How come? I'm a business student, I like my routine, I sleep my 7 hours, or I wake up early. So back in the competition, I think that's where you face your weakness and you really find a way to overcome and face your fears. Mm-hmm. And we have a finished prototype. Now I have pitched my idea to community leaders, and I just have great feedback. I don't know, probably I won't market my finished prototype, but it's giving me the opportunity to tell my story to a lot of people, and that's the most benefit that I think. So I don't know what's going to happen with this prototype. So if you have an idea, just even if it's not going to work, just use it as a way to open the gate, to know people, network, know your passion. But I totally went out of the subject to ask about the
that was great.
But I just had to share this because if you are shy to participate in this type of competition, I don't know, you just gotta get out of the comfort zone. That's where we learn the most.
And Startup Weekend is just one model of competition. For example, in Da Vinci, the participants came with a preformed team. That you formed your team, you had your ideas, you recruited your team, you went through a process with your team to develop your product. At Startup Weekend, there is the forming of teams during the weekend and working on working to develop the product and matching up the skill set. So, for example, the elevation speech, the teams were pre-formed, Bob, before they came to the elevator pitch competition. So there are various ways of there are various forms of competition.
Yep.
And then you've got Code Fest, don't forget about that, which is the hackathon in the spring that you guys host here at UWF. And typically what happens there is there's a single, or at least like a genre of problem that's given to a group of technical and business-minded folks. And it's, all right, let's compete on how do we best solve this problem, which is an extremely different but unique model.
Yep.
And other forms of competition is in a lot of classes, in logistics, for example, and the MBA program at College of Business. We have a lot of what we call live cases, where we have businesses come to the university to present a particular problem, and we formulate teams around that particular problem, and the students work to solve that particular problem under the direction of the problem presenter and a faculty member. And we've had some very good success in that, and it's become very much a core part of the curriculum. I know the logistics teams have gone on to competition in logistics in Denver, and have come back with prizes, competing on a national basis with top schools from across the country. So there are a variety of opportunities to compete. And again, the takeaway message here is that these opportunities to compete, hone your skills, develop your self-awareness, provide an opportunity for you to develop relationships with team members, and also to network with coaches, judges, and others, and to get a good resume entry that may distinguish you from others going forward. And it's a high-impact learning experience, to be blunt. It is indeed a learning experience.
Yep. So I want to thank all of our panelists for joining us tonight. If you'll join me in giving them a hand.